heat. It has to be UVB.
Does it look like a
specific.
heat source or
It
something?
looks pretty much like one of those.
And you need your eyes,
Neons.
little goggle things, or
Not really. I mean, the UVB sources are actually not the
so the tanning
bandwidth. The
booth.
bandwidth is
The
yeah,
tanning
the tanning
booth
booth.
is different stuff. It includes
No, it's-
C or
yeah.
A or
Usually the tanning booths, I
or
believe they
people
do
put
have
the sun just.
they
to
do
avoid-
have UVB UVB light emitting diodes, you know. But here's the thing, going back to our issue and the study is now you've got a bunch of people saying, oh, you know, we don't need to actually have that much vitamin D because look, we got research here in a very respectable journal which says that we don't need it. So I've written a letter to the editor, but they can only accept so many letters, and obviously, you know, there's probably people that have better connections with the New England Journal of Medicine that got their letters accepted, but they also made some good points that those researchers ignored many of the other issues. You know,
So
with the vitamin D.
comorbidity.
Yeah,
other
comorbidity,
things.
like especially neurodegenerative diseases. This happens a lot in
A lot of people have them.
older blacks. Yeah, but if you look at the ratio among
It happens at earlier ages.
that too, and then if you look at the percentage that happens in the black populations versus white and Asians, you know, because Asians, many of the
Lighter skin. Yeah.
East Asians, they have light skin. You're gonna find a very disproportionate amount in the black population. So
So it's
that's already there, right? And on top of that, now you get the study, which encourages people, you know, people that read stuff like that, or researchers and doctors, to not worry about it. To like, hey, you know, don't worry about it. You don't need to. Blacks don't need to have the same level of vitamin D, circulating vitamin D in the blood as whites. So, you know. You know that there's existing problems there. You know that they're suffering from cancer in much higher percentages than whites and Asians. And it's not only diet.
right.
And you know, because there's lots of black people that eat healthy and
And
exercise. Yeah,
see
and there's a lot of Caucasian Asians that don't, but you see a very disproportionate amount of cancer rates and neurodegenerative diseases. And
So it's low-hanging fruit. It would be easy to implement. There's almost no downside. Toxicity is practically no issue.
yeah,
If you did it with a UVB source, the
Mhm.
body would regulate the amount it makes by
Yeah.
itself.
yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't even need blood tests.
Yeah, it would be
And
much-
Yeah, you
It
can't
would
talk
be,
about it.
It would be much better than vitamins because you can actually intake too much vitamin D. But you know, with UVB light exposure, your body has mechanisms that will stop producing too much vitamin
I'm
D.
gonna go buy one of these things. You have
Yeah.
to tell me about
Yeah,
it.
actually, you know, they're actually very cheap.
Can I get one on Amazon?
Or
can you get them in Taiwan?
You can go to a dermatologist, and here, you know, you pay 100 NT to see the dermatologist, and then you say, hey, I just want some UVB light exposure, and they'll put you in one of those booths, tanning booths, and they'll switch the dial to UVB light, and then you get your vitamin D, and you get all those health factors that you need. And I think UVB light exposure, this is going to be, if we're going to live healthier, especially those of us that have darker skin pigmentation or more melanin in our skin, it's going to be more or less like a vaccine in the future because, I don't go outside very much, but I know that I need my UVB light exposure. And I do feel better when I'm out without my shirt on. And I try to do that from time to time. And then I know during the winter months when I don't have the chance to do that, that's why you get sick more often. That's why you don't feel as well. You can't sleep as good. So there's all these things that are very important. But going back to the studies, sometimes you get studies like this that are published in a very high impact factor journal, and because that happens, everybody tends to be like, oh, it's a study published in a very high impact factor journal, so I should really trust it, when you actually shouldn't. Because sometimes, researchers make mistakes. They can get very good results, but they can misinterpret their findings. And this can happen sometimes. It doesn't happen very often, but in this situation, I'm pretty sure if just from the letters to the editor that I read, and from my own understanding of my research on UVB light exposure and vitamin D, this is a no-brainer. I mean, this totally went the wrong way.
I'm going to have to get some equipment for this.
Yeah.
What else is going on? Again, I'm not a scientist, so my education is from YouTube. And again, citing the great Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and I have no idea what she has published in or where, if anything, but she went on a rant about how there's been an anti-vitamin pushback from doctors. Even multivitamins, they're saying, you don't even need a multivitamin. And she went into all the ways she thought that this was flawed, and all the ways that she thought that the meta-studies that were quoted had rejected supporting evidence and emphasized evidence that supported some pre-existing bias, and that in addition, the studies themselves were often flawed in terms of whether they took serum levels of vitamins before supplementation, after supplementation, whether they had even moved the base levels. So, and also there were issues of compliance, but she sees a large pushback against the idea of telling people to take their vitamins. And yet, apparently, there's all kinds of data that people don't have enough of many common vitamins, and probably they would be better off with supplementation. So there seems to be a pushback against supplementation.
Yeah, and I remember it just came to me, the name of the researcher was Powe, P-O-W-E, and yeah, that was the name of the researcher. And I think yeah, they had about 700 citations. So I'm wondering, like, what are people citing?
The data?
Their mistake, their good findings that, BMD levels and calcium levels are higher. I think that's an excellent finding, and that completely shows that there's still a lot of evolution going on. So I think this study, it's amazing. I mean, it brought up so many interesting and so much good support that there's great evolution going on in the human species.
Even now,
yeah. And I mean, there's nothing you can take away from them. But to say that, blacks or African Americans in the U.S. are totally okay because we found that their BMD and calcium levels are just great.
But that's based against white people.
I don't think that holds water because
not a great baseline.
They have all these other problems that you're not accounting for, like higher cancer ratios. And vitamin D and sunlight is very important. We have a lot of evidence to show that cancer rates or cancer prognosis and occurrence is highly influenced by the amount of vitamin D and the sunlight exposure that you get.
So one could infer that in many different ways one could come to the conclusion that black people are not getting the vitamin D they should. So just throwing out bone marrow density and calcium is not necessarily doing anyone a favor.
Yeah.
You also wonder the financial incentives for the medical community to not have to prescribe vitamins and not have to do blood tests and so on. And what a great labor-saving device. Don't worry about your vitamins.
Yeah.
Go eat at McDonald's.
Yeah. So, well, I just wanted to point out some of the issues with expert opinions, publications, how certain studies can influence the outcome of health. Because imagine what this, we already are suffering from not enough sunlight exposure and sufficient vitamin D. Now you throw the study on top of all this and okay, I guess it doesn't really make that big of a difference, right?
It's
From vitamin D deficiency.
people looking for
When it makes all the
complacency.
difference.
Yeah, complacency. Oh, you don't have to do anything.
So we hope to continue on this interesting and important topics in the future. We want to thank you for being with us, and please comment and tell us your opinions and suggest topics if you like. And please don't forget to subscribe, and your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you again. And